Hey everyone, and welcome to 5 Minutes Daily Football News. This is your daily look at everything that's been happening in the world of football over the last 24 hours, and it's all brought to you by our friends at footballquizbanter.com.
All right, let's get right into it. We've got so much to cover today, from the grassroots game all the way up to the global stage.
You know, it's so easy to just get caught up in the final score, right? The big transfers, the league tables. But what if the real stories, the most important ones, are actually happening just off the pitch?
That's what we're going to do today. We're going on a journey through the entire football ecosystem, from a kid's very first tournament to a legend taking their final bow, to see what's really going on in the beautiful game.
So let's start where it all kicks off, right? Right at the very beginning, with that pure, unfiltered passion for the sport.
I mean, this quote from Megan Buckley at Wrexham, it just says it all, doesn't it? It shows how these events, like the Premier League Disability Football Festivals, are about so much more than just a game. They're about building confidence, opening doors, and creating opportunities that just might not have been there otherwise.
And talk about the power of youth football. Can you imagine being in year 7 and just absolutely tearing it up at a tournament in Milan? This young lad, Marley, 10 goals and 7 assists. It's just a perfect little snapshot of that raw talent and the incredible experiences that can shape a young player.
Okay, so you have all this passion, this raw talent. How does that actually turn into a professional career? Let's hop over from the pitch to the gridiron for a minute and look at the very structured world of American college football. For so many, this is the pinnacle, right? Getting the call for the College Football Hall of Fame. And look at this 2025 class, it's just packed with absolute legends. Coaches like Nick Saban and Urban Meyer, and players you'll definitely know, like Michael Vick and Michael Strawhand. But for a coach like Nick Saban, it was clearly about so much more than just the trophies. He says it right here. It wasn't just about winning. It was about mentorship, building character, and getting his players ready for life long after their playing days were over.
And you know, that career path is never static. They call it the coaching carousel for a reason, and it is always spinning. We just saw another move this week with Mercer University bringing in Joel Taylor, a guy who had already been a key part of their program.
Whew, that's a lot of moving parts already, right? And hey, just a quick reminder, if you want to keep up with all this stuff, the coaching changes, the big news, you can find more deep dives, quizzes, and chatter over at footballquizbanter.com. All right, now let's crank up the intensity.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about the top of the food chain, where the pressure, the headlines, and the salaries are just on another level entirely.
Because when you're at the top, man, there is nowhere to hide. The spotlight is just unforgiving, and that kind of pressure can lead to some really shocking headlines like we saw this past week in college football.
And wow, did this one escalate quickly. A really stunning fall from grace for Sherrone Moore at Michigan. The university fired him, saying there was a clear violation of university policy. But then, just hours later, there were reports he was in police custody, which tells you just how serious this situation could be.
So from one kind of drama to another, let's talk about the money. Because the wealth flowing through football right now is just staggering, and it's really changing the game. Just look at these weekly wages from the Saudi Pro League. Cristiano Ronaldo is in a universe of his own, making over £3.5 million a week.
And with that kind of cash floating around, you know the transfer rumor mill is going to be working overtime. Now, there are reports swirling that because Mike Mannion's contract talks have stalled, AC Milan is already looking ahead and making contact with Liverpool's Alisson Becker. The big clubs never stop moving.
Okay, so after all that high-stakes, high-drama stuff, let's take a breath and bring it back down to the people who make this game what it is.
And this is just perfect. It proves that even Erling Haaland, a goal-scoring machine, has the exact same arguments we all do. I love this. It's such a funny, relatable peek into his life at home. That whole how much football is too much football debate, it's universal.
But, you know, the human element goes way beyond just the star players. There are so many unsung heroes working behind the scenes, and one of those really crucial roles is the dedicated football officer, or DFO.
Their role is absolutely vital. It's not just about showing up on match day. They do so much more, from planning and assessing risks before the game to working with the clubs, and probably most important, just being a familiar face and engaging with fans to build that trust. They're the ones making sure it's a safe experience for all of us.
And finally, that human story continues even after the boots are hung up for good. Legends of the game are always finding new ways to connect with fans, and now it sounds like Manchester United icons Paul Scholes and Nicky Butt might be joining a new platform to share their amazing football brains with the world.
So when you step back and look at it all, from the pure joy on a community pitch to the scandals, the unbelievable money, and all the human stories in between, it makes you wonder, right? What really is the true state of the beautiful game today?
Hey, thanks so much for joining me for this one. For all the details on these stories, plus some really fun quizzes to test your own knowledge, you have got to visit our friends over at footballquizbanter.com.